Hello and welcome to On the Other Hoof. We have a fantastic weekend of racing ahead of us in England, Ireland, and also over in France, and maybe even a couple of good races over in New York at Belmont Park as well, with plenty of European raiders there. We're going to be focusing on the English action, in particular the Channel 4 action tomorrow afternoon on Saturday. We have some good action from Newmarket with 3 sales races and group action with the Sun Chariot. Group 1 4 fillies and mares taking place. Also group action at Ascot, along with a couple of handicaps and the 2-year-old trophy won last year by Limato at Redcar. We'll see Limato in the foray on Sunday for Arc Day at Longchamp. But a bit more about that a little bit later on. Firstly, only one person joining me today. I'm Luke Elder. Joining me is Adam Webb. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Apologies for the delay. My laptop's been a temperamental thing. First of all, I switched it on, the internet wouldn't come on. Then I managed to get it on. We were sat ready to go, and then it went off again. If it goes off again, plan B will come into action, where I will be on my other laptop. I use 2 laptops now for the video because this can be slow and it is easier to look at form and get stuff up. So if you see me looking like that, then yeah. If this goes wrong, then it will be to that laptop where the camera's not as nice and it's a listenable microphone. That's what Luke said. I don't know how it sounds, so yeah, should be interesting. Just fingers crossed, touch wood, it works.
In fairness, any microphone you talk into is going to sound pretty crap.
I don't even have a voice for radio. That's the thing.
How are you anyway? How did we get on with naps last week? I don't think it was great.
Naps last week, I don't think they were pretty good. I'm trying to think that I don't even remember them. That's how bad they were. Oh, the doubles, and I don't even remember what I napped. So it must have lost. You had Bashara and Shalar, I think, or one of you did, and yeah, it weren't good.
There's something along those. It was a double anyway of some sort of kind. A bit of news as well about tomorrow evening. Obviously, we've got the Arc, a huge day of racing as well on the Sunday, with the likes of the Foray, the Abbey as well. Brilliant day of racing coming up on Sunday over at Longchamp. So what myself and Adam, and potentially someone else, if we can rope someone in to do On the Other Hoof with us, we'll do is we're going to preview Arc Day at Longchamp tomorrow evening. So we'll confine what we talk about this evening for tomorrow evening instead. We're going to focus just solely on the Channel 4 action just tomorrow afternoon for tonight's show. However, tomorrow on Saturday evening, we will be doing an Arc special, maybe the same time. Just stay tuned on Twitter and we will keep you up to date with what times we do the Arc show. But a good weekend of racing to get our teeth into. As always, you can tweet in any opinion, question, or fancy that you may have about the weekend of racing. Do you think Trev will get her 3rd Arc this weekend? Let us know. Just tweet us at On The Other Hoof, and we'll read out every single question, fancy, and whatever else you want to send to us, within reason, of course, at the end of the show. But the first race of 9 that we're going to be previewing this evening is the 145 at Newmarket, the 150,000 at Tattersalls October auction stakes, over 6 furlongs, 28 runners to get our way through here, Adam. It's not the strongest of races. However, the favourite is the fairly solid one in the form of Twin Sails.
I think not the strongest is a very polite way of saying it's pretty crap. It's not a good race. I tried to think of a polite way to say it myself, but 28 runners and the majority of them are this is not a nice race. Really isn't. I do think it is between the top 2. They are some way clear of the opposition. And Twin Sails gets weight from receiving waves and deserves to be favourite. He ran well at Doncaster last time out behind Mr. Lupton, but Dean Ivory was saying before the race that he would have liked a bit more time with him because he came back after Newbury and he wasn't right. And he's got the best form in the race. He was less than a length behind Galileo Gold at Goodwood in the Group 2, and because he's carrying less weight here, he is the clear one to beat. And he's not. I wouldn't be backing him, because it's not a 28-runner, 2-year-old sales race. Isn't a race I will be betting on. Receding Waves won nicely last time out at Haydock in a nursery, and it's probably going to chase him home. It's just, that's all I can really say on the race. It's just pretty naff to start the day on Channel 4. At least it gets better somewhat as the day progresses, but this is just a horrible race to start the day.
Yeah, it provides a bit of each way value if that's more your thing. For myself, I think as far as 28 runner races go, I think Twin Sails is as big a certainty as you're going to find. He's got plenty over everything else on official ratings. We've got horses in here that are rated mid-60s to high 60s, which against a horse rated 99, not getting all that much weight as well, is going to make their task very, very stiff indeed. As you mentioned, Twin Sails, Dean Ivory did say before Doncaster last time out behind Mr. Lupton, that he would improve for that run. He had a bit of a problem after Newbury, as you rightly again mentioned, Adam. It was softer ground that day at Newbury as well, so plenty of excuses as to why he ran so poorly. But in the sales race at Doncaster, he came a good third in what was probably a much, much stronger event. We'll see Mr. Lupton later on this afternoon, but for twin sales, a horse rated 99 in this kind of race, it could just be an absolute penalty kick. But it's just a case of there's 27 other horses in the race. Is he going to get a clear run? At 5-2, I know you said that you probably wouldn't be backing him. He's probably one of the more attractive betting propositions for me tomorrow. He's got so much in hand over everything else.
True.
If he gets a clear run, he really should be winning this and winning it fairly comfortably.
But knowing your luck, it's a 28-runner race. He gets trapped behind a wall of horses and can't get out because they will be coming back into his lap. Because, yeah, some of the opposition aren't very good. That is a potential worry, but he should be too good. I wouldn't personally back him tomorrow. It's just 28 runners. It's just a watching brief. He's the nicest horse. He's got the most potential anyway to go and make into a smart 3-year-old as well. So, yeah, he's a clear one to beat on form and everything, yeah.
Yeah, well, he's got the most potential, but he's also stamped his authority that he is a genuine group performer. That race with Galileo Gold, the likes of Palawan, also in there, and Malik on the far side. Those three are very, very good horses. The fact that he was fourth and not beaten all that far, it's only about a length and a half behind Galileo Gold on that occasion. If he runs anywhere to near what he did that day, tomorrow will just be a bit of a breeze for him. But moving on to Ascot for the 2 o'clock, the Albert Bartlett Stakes, registered as the Roo Stakes, a listed race over at 5 furlongs. 13 go to post here, Adam. It's a fairly hotly contested race. Maybe some of these are just not quite cutting at the top level. The likes of Windfire have been tried at a very high level. Kingsgate Native as well. The old boy at the age of 10 is back for another crack here.
Yeah, Windfire is an interesting horse. He ran really well behind Steps last time out at Newbury. And before that, he was seventh behind Mecca's Angel, who may not run on Sunday in the Abbey. And she's also got the car park draw as well. I think he's got his chance. Oisin Murphy's reunited with the horse after his attempt at Sandown to knock Stepper Point out the way, which was mentioned on Racing UK the other night.
And Spirit Quartz.
What? Yeah.
And Spirit Quartz.
And Spirit Quartz as well. If that programme is put up and you missed it, please watch it because it was brilliant stuff from Lydia Hislop and Steve Mellish, and a great conversation was had, and they've got another part next week as well. The selection, no, I'm going to side with Medician Man, who at the age of 9, his ability knows no bounds. He was robbed in the King's Stand. I thought he got there in the final strides, but Gold Dream mugged him on the line, and it was heartbreaking for him because he's such a legend within his connections, and I really love the horse I do, and I just hope tomorrow's conditions are ideal for him because the ground is decent for him. He loves Ascot, and I think he's got a really big chance tomorrow. We'll mention Kingsgate Native, obviously. I think he'll run a big race as well, and he actually gets better ground as well, which I think will really help him. He's been running well on softer ground, but back on a sounder surface, he could go really well. And 11-1 in this field is, I think, a bit insulting, actually. The selection is Medician Man, and Kingsgate Native is likely to chase him home, I'd say.
I'm just trying to get the prices up for this because I'm struggling with the prices at the moment.
Well, I can give you best odds if you want them.
One sec, here we go. I've got it. Fine. So apologies for that. It was just a complete malfunction on my technical side. Like you say, it is a wide open race, Adam. Kingsgate Native, you'd love to see him run well once more. He's been in decent enough form this season, and you couldn't really begrudge him, well, in each way bet anyway, at 11-1. I'm going to have to mention Dutch Masterpiece, aren't I? The bit that I took a bit of solace out of last time at Newbury is that he travelled very strongly. He completely walked out the gate. But the one thing that I've really resented all year, for want of a better term, is that he's just been hanging more towards the right. He didn't do that once at Newbury, which is a bit of an interesting thing to take into account, that he's been doing it all season. He did it at Leicester. He did it at Ascot as well when second on Shergar Cup Day. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs tomorrow. He's much better than a 99 rated horse. Let's not forget, 2 years ago, almost to the day anyway, he was going off favourite for an Abbey over in France. So if he does return to any kind of form, and more importantly, doesn't hang towards his right, he'd have an each way chance at about 12-1. I think for win purposes, I'm struggling a little bit. I think Windfire is probably your best idea of the winner, albeit he is now your 4-1 favourite. But his form seems to be the best throughout. He was fourth to Steps in that Newbury race, just one place ahead of Dutch Masterpiece as well. But if you go back to his earlier form in the season, he was potentially pretty unlucky behind Wadi at Sandown. His better form as well, even in the the Temple as well. He was third to Pearl Secret when, again, very unlucky. He was cutting out the pace. He had to be taken back, switched left, and then came flying with a rattle at a huge price. So Windfire's form is the best in the race. It's just whether everything's finally going to fall okay for him. This is a much weaker event than he has been contesting. Let's not forget he ran the King's Stand as well. So if everything does go right for Windfire tomorrow, which I can't stress enough, it hasn't gone right for him whatsoever this season so far, he'd be the bet at 4-1. Of course, I'm going to have to put Dutch Masterpiece up each way at 12-1. If you fancy Windfire, you have to give Dutch Masterpiece a chance as well, in fairness, from the running of their last race. They weren't separated by all that far. And it wasn't the worst race in the world for a Group 3 at Newbury, back down into listed class this afternoon. Back off now to Newmarket for their next race of the afternoon, the 2:15, a 300,000 Tattersall's Millions 2-year-old fillies trophy over 7 furlongs. 13 runners go to post here, Adam. A little bit of an easier task to maybe find the winner here. Potentially a bit of each way value to be found there with Alice Springs, your odds-on favourite.
Yeah, 4-7 is probably value in this race, especially with the form she's shown recently. Third in Moy-Glare behind Minding and Ballydoyle, and was fourth last week in a really good Cheveley Park behind Lumiere. That was a really good performance from Lumiere, and I hold out hope that she'll get the mile in the Guineas next year. I think if she learns to settle, she could be a very good filly, and I really look forward to seeing her. Alice Springs was unfavoured by 6 furlongs. A set back up to 7 furlongs I think will really help her. She'll be better over longer trips as well in the future. But you look at the race, most of these are dropping back in trip. You've got Clear Skies coming back in trip. Engage, who won a maiden at Doncaster, she comes back in trip as well. The main reason they're coming back in trip is because of the prize money. So, because if you come second here, you win 66,000. So it's worth a go. To chase her home, I quite like Pursuit of the Stars, who's got some okay form in maiden. She was set behind Desert of Life, who was second at Newbury a couple of starts back, and was also fourth behind a filly that I've got my eye on in Diploma of Sir Michael Stout's, owned by the Queen. And I think the better ground will definitely help her, being by See the Stars. And if you want one for a forecast, she's quite a big price to chase home Alice Springs. But if she improves for better ground, like I think she will, I think she won't give Alice Springs a race, but she'd be one that I'd take to chase her home anyway. This is a bit similar to the first race, although the quality, there's more potential in behind Alice Springs as opposed with Twin Sails and Receding Waves. There's not much in behind that I'd be taking forward. So Alice Springs definitely wins. Pursuit of the Stars likely to chase her home.
Yeah, you'd be disappointed if Alice Springs wasn't your winner anyway. We've got another one brought over from Ireland as well, with Clear Skies for David Watchman. JP McManus, the rare runner at Newmarket as well. There's one at a bigger price, is currently 16-1 for the Anne Duffield yard that I thought would go very well. Off the mark of 77, it would be nothing more than a rick if they ran her in a nursery, because she's a lot better than a 77 rated performer. Let's just look at her breeding. New Approach as well. She's closely related to Fonceleb, an ARC winner. So plenty of stamina in that breeding as well. 7 furlongs should be okay. That'll probably be about the minimum of what she wants, but they're going to go a good clip. They always do in these kind of races. Tomorrow afternoon, the ground should be pretty good as well, so that's going to be in her favour. But she's set a really good tone with her Carlisle win last time out. She wasn't beaten all that far by Zaina Rosina, who didn't really go on Frank before next time out on debut, but she was fairly green on that occasion. She did come on for that, and she destroyed what looked to be a fairly average field at Carlisle. We'll give her that. But it was the manner that she did it, and she put the race to bed in a matter of strides. A mark of 77 is way below what she can actually achieve. She looks more like a high-end 80 horse, maybe bordering on 90. So she's got a bit of mileage in that. For 16-1, though, on a horse that's already had 2 runs, she's against the likes of Engage, even 4 horses making their debut tomorrow afternoon. Ninetta, I think, is a really good each-way bet at 16-1. I completely agree with you, Adam. That you'd be disappointed, I think would be the best way to put it, if Alice Springs wasn't winning this. Her form is on a completely different level to anything else that we've seen in this race so far. Anyway, we've got plenty of horses with potential, but whether they're that good, I'm not 100% sure. But for me, Ninetta was definitely the each way value there. But myself and Adam agreeing, Alice Springs should really be winning at that event tomorrow. The 2:35 At Ascot, though, is our next port of call. The Gigaset Cumberland Lodge Stakes, a Group 3 run over 1.5 miles, won last year by Pedders Moon, who went on to be Group 1 victor this year at Epsom. It's, I don't know how to put this, not kindly. A disappointing race, I'm going to say. With the exception of Starstorm, because that would be unbelievably harsh to say that the 3-year-old hasn't really gone on to fulfill his potential. But with the likes of Forgotten Voice, who in his day was a very good horse, we'll give him that. Hillstar, for me, is a very disappointing horse. Red Galileo, the same. Romsdal, definitely a disappointing horse, a very in-and-out horse as well. Windshear, again, didn't really go on from his 3-year-old campaign, and then Miss Call and Queen of Ice as well to throw into it, just to round it all off. Starstorm is your 3-year-old and progressive type for James Fanshawe and Tom Queally. Has quite a bit to find on official ratings, but at least it's going in the right way.
Yeah, she is probably one of the only ones in the race that is going the right way. The rest of them, they're talented animals on their day when you get them right, but most of the time you tend to get them wrong. Romsdal was favourite last time out at Newbury and was severely disappointing with Jeffrey Free. He was beaten a long way out. Agent Murphy was a really good winner, but the race fell apart in behind him. I can't trust Romsdal. Windshear ran a shocking race in Turkey. He was the first off the bridle, the first horse beaten, and just showed nothing over there. I don't see him following in Pedders Moon's footsteps, that's for sure. Then again, how Pedders Moon is a Group 1 winner, I'll never know. Hillstar's another one I can't trust. Interestingly, though, because he won his Group 1 in October last year, he doesn't have a Group 1 penalty here, but still I find him hard to fancy. Starstorm needs to improve, but of these, she's probably the most likely one to improve. But the one I'm going to side with is an old favourite in Forgotten Voice, because he's actually been in decent form and he rarely runs a bad race. And I thought he ran really well behind Kirby Enthusiasm last time out in the Mallard. And before that, he's been running at over 1.6 miles, 2 miles. I think a drop back to 1.5 miles in a way will help him, because he definitely stays. And I just think a drop back to 1.5 miles will actually help him. So at the prices, I think he's worth a bet. I will mention Red Galileo. He's just impossible to weigh up. It wouldn't shock me if he ran really well tomorrow, because all these times we've been saying 1.5 miles doesn't suit him, and it wouldn't shock me tomorrow if he actually ran a really decent race. Queen of Ice has just gone the wrong way completely. I mean, she looked progressive last year, and she's finished last on both her starts this year. It's interesting that they're still persisting with her, but I can't trust her. And I can trust Starstorm, but she's got a bit to find. But the one I could trust the most is Forgotten Voice. He's probably a bet at the prices as well. It's just, so many talented horses that just don't go.
Yeah.
That's the noise I made.
It may be harsh.
when I looked at the race.
It may be harsh for me to say as well. Shut up, stop talking. It may be harsh for me to say about Forgotten Voice as well. A 10-year-old that he hasn't really gone in the right direction, because when he was in his heyday, he was a force to be reckoned with, wasn't he?
Yeah, Hunt Cup winner, Wolferton winner, even winning over hurdles as well, second behind my tent or yours.
He was a very decent animal as well, didn't he? Did he win like a Dovecote or something like that, or was he second in it?
He won at Kempton, I think. Yeah, he won there.
He won something.
He went to Aintree after that. Yeah, they missed Cheltenham with him. He wanted good ground over hurdles, and he wasn't a bad hurdler. He also went down under for the Melbourne Cup, but didn't get in. His prep racing was planned, so which is a shame. But great warrior for Nicky Henderson. So talking of warriors, very quickly, Australia Day was retired earlier. What a horse he was! What a talent as well. When he was right, he was very good. I mean, a couple of starts ago at Market Race, we tried to take the fence with him. Jesus Christ. Well, I'll miss him.
He didn't take the fence with him. He took off, landed on it, and then tried to jump it again.
Yeah. We still tried to take it home with him, but poor old
It was a fantastic effort.
Yeah, it was. Good horse.
10 out of 10 for the dive. Back to more pressing matters, though, with the Cumberland Lodge. I'm not going to put up a bet per se, but a selection, if I did have one, it would be Starstorm. I know that he only won his handicap last time out off 86. He bolted up, beating a fairly weak field. The horse in second, Captain Navarre, is a horse that I've got a bit of a soft spot for. He is still a maiden after many, many efforts, but he always seems to run his race. He's always thereabouts, and he's no slouch for handicapping company, especially at that level anyway. Obviously, Starstorm has to step up hugely going into Group 3 action here, but if James Fanshawe could have found an easier Group 3 anywhere in the world, I would like to have seen it. We'll not mention the one that was run at Dundalk this evening, but Starstorm has been found a really nice opportunity here, because the horses that he's against are rated far superior, yes, but she's a horse going in the right direction. James Fanshawe brings his horses along very slowly as well. So if he can just find that little bit more improvement, Starstorm, he wouldn't actually be far away. The only thing that would stop me from putting him up as a bet is his price. Currently 9-2, 5-1. It's not really an each way proposition on that regard. So I wouldn't be tipping a 94 rated horse to be winning a Group 3 against the likes of Romsdal, who's rated 115 and ran really well earlier on in the season in the King George. So I wouldn't put up a bet per se, but if you had to press me for a selection, I would take Starstorm, who is still unexposed, going in the right direction against a few horses that have become disappointing over the last year. I think will be the best and most polite way to put it. Back off to Newmarket, though, for what I've dubbed to you, Adam, is the race of the day, the 250, the 500,000 Tattersall's Millions 2-year-old trophy, a 7-furlong race with 14 runners in it. However, most of the 14 have a good chance. We just list off a few of them. We've got Waterloo Bridge, the Norfolk winner from Royal Ascot. Hasn't run since. He's had 107 days off. Gifted Master was a fairly bright 2-year-old in the early part of this season. They have gelded Gifted Master. He came back and won quite nicely at Newcastle last time out. And Pat Smullen takes the ride as well. East Indies was a winner from Marlin 2 at Kempton last time out in a maiden. Has some fairly good maiden form just before that as well. However, dropping down to 7 furlongs, that could be a bit of a worry for John Gosden, Bram Havlin and Godolphin. But Joy Feng as well, another wide open one down at the bottom, a much improving animal for Amanda Perret. And Deret Saini takes the ride. And it was already as well a sales winner just 2 weeks ago here at Newmarket. So for me, Adam, race of the day, it's wide open. Plus, a lot of these horses I can imagine going on to be very good 3-year-olds next year.
Yeah, it's a really good race, actually. I'm just looking down the list. I mean, I was disappointed with the first one. This more than makes up for it. Waterloo Bridge, I don't have a doubt about him seeing that 7 furlongs. The more I'm concerned about is how long he's been off, because I'm surprised he's not been running more over the summer. I mean, he did have 5 quick races in succession at the start of the year, so maybe it was the intention to give him a small break to then bring him back for the autumn. And at the prices at 9-4, I think he's short enough. Although he does have the best form in the race. I mean, I know he beat Logout Island and King of Rooks, but they've not really gone on to deliver on the promise that they showed in the early half of the season. Gifted Master hasn't been seen because he suffered a setback at Newcastle, but he looks a very talented horse. I mean, everybody's seen the photograph of him when he won his maiden at Newmarket. It wasn't the manner in which he won; it was something else that caught the attention. But it
was interesting horse tracks anyway.
Yeah,
it was 2 hooves either side with a line.
Yeah,
it was like a Scalextrics horse, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. Since he's been gelded, I think that will help him. And oddly enough, he actually does look a horse that would actually train on. I know he was out in April, and he showed really good speed when he won on debut. I don't think 7 furlongs should be an issue, especially on his breeding. I'll let you touch on Joy Feng. I thought he was impressive last time out at over course and distance at Newmarket. East Indies coming back in trip is a big worry for me. I mean, he won over 10 furlongs, and middle distances is what you want. Obviously, the prize money is too much to resist, but he should. I think he'll struggle tomorrow. There's one at a big price, actually, that I quite like, and it's a horse that hasn't been seen since May, an Ancient Astronaut, who dead heated in the maiden that the Wow Signal won for John Quinn, but he dead heated. And it's interesting that he's not been seen since, and this may have been a target for quite a while. And Penny didn't drop.
Just to butt in, I know that they had targeted. I'm not sure 100% how far forward Ancient Astronaut was for that initial debut effort when dead heating with Ferry over, but they did have Ancient Astronaut in the Goffs London sale.
Yeah.
So whether they wanted to get him fairly far forward, win the initial maiden, and then try and go to a sale where they spend ridiculous amounts of money on, that could be that's speculation on my behalf, but I'd be leaning more towards that side.
Okay, well, the thing was in his maiden, I don't think he was particularly far forward because it took a while for the penny to drop. But when it did drop, he really powered home. And I'm interested in him at 7 furlongs. It's interesting that he's still with John Quinn because he could have easily been sold after that. But I quite like him. And at 16s, I think he's worth an each way bet. I know it's a race full of depth, but once a penny dropped on debut, he really powered home. Step up in trips, no problem. And I'm going to give you, as a likely winner, I'm going to go with Gifted Master. I really like the horse. And for an each way, I'll put a Patient Astronaut at a bigger price.
Yes, fair enough. I wouldn't put anyone off at Ancient Astronaut, just a slight reserve that I've got, especially at 16-1, could be a good each way bet. If you follow me on Twitter, you'd have known 2 weeks ago I'm a big fan of Joy Feng, who was fairly expensive. I think it was bought as a 2-year-old earlier on this year. I think it was for 300, off the top of my head, I think it was 340,000 guineas or 360. I can't quite remember.
You're making the money back.
Yeah, exactly. If you win, what, 270,000 or 270,500 for winning a race tomorrow. Excuse me. But it's a horse that's going in the right direction after really needing the initial debut at Salisbury. Didn't run all that well on that occasion, but won what looked to be a fairly nice maiden at Kempton on paper 2 outings ago, and then went on to win a sales race just 14 days ago here. Had Nimmer in behind, who was a fairly short price favourite on that occasion. And Joy Feng wasn't without support on that day. Well, went off 6-1, was available a little bit bigger earlier on in the day. It's a horse that's clearly going in the right direction. As mentioned, it was a fairly competitive sales race, I think we'll say. I think it had to call it at Newmarket, actually.
Lucy Wadham.
Lucy Wadham, that was it.
Well, they had Martin Harris doing all the races for Racing UK and for betting shops, but on course they had Lucy Wadham, and she kind of stumbled over it in the final furlong. But
but no, there's a lot to like about the way Joy Feng did it. He was a little bit green still, so he does have quite a bit to learn. He's got a bit to find on official ratings as well, with the likes of Gifted Master. However, Gifted Master's had one more run. Waterloo Bridge has had 5 runs as a Norfolk winner, already a Group 2 winner, and has a rating of 105, where Joy Feng, who's only rated 93, has only had 3 runs, won 2 of them. And like I say, it's still a horse that's improving all the time. I will say one other thing as well, that Callum, who usually is on our show, he's currently in Paris at the moment for the Arc
he's in Italy.
Sunday. He's in Italy. I think he quite liked Bedrock as an each way alternative in this from his initial debut. But one other that I will throw in, maybe not for tomorrow, but for future purposes, is East Indies for Godolphin and John Gosden. He said a really good sort of initial thought about his debut effort. First time out, he was 4th in what looked to be a pretty decent Sandown maiden, was then upped in trip for a mile, up to 1 mile and 2, now dropping back down to 7 after winning so impressively over 10 furlongs last time out. That's not overly a huge positive. However, he is clearly a very nice horse. If he can get out in front and dictate, which he may not have the tactical speed to do, then he could be an interesting part of this race. But for me, I'm definitely siding with Joy Feng. And potentially Gifted Master is a horse that I have liked for quite a while. I know Adam likes him as well, so I'll take you on, Adam. I'll take Joy Feng against Gifted Master.
That's fine. I've got no complaints. It's a good race, so you could go with several in this race, and I wouldn't be surprised if any of them won it. Really, there's a couple of possibly be raising your eyebrows at, but most of them have a chance. It's not like the first race. If Twin Sails or Receding Waves aren't winning, there's something wrong.
Yeah, then you'd be disappointed with that. From one 2-year-old race, or from many 2-year-old races actually, that we haven't really got too much of a clue about. We've then got the 2-year-old trophy at Redcar, 43 o'clock, a 6 furlong race where we've only got 23 runners this time to talk through, Adam. So it's fairly wide open this time, I think you can say the least about. Mr. Lupton is already a sales race winner with, was second in a super sprint as well at Newbury. Was a winner at Doncaster last time out. Over slightly further than this, we've also got a few fairly progressive types, and the likes of Mayfair Lady, who gets weight from the majority of the field, is currently your 3-1 market leader. A competitive race, a fairly wide open one though, at that, Adam.
Yeah, our only trip to Redcar for the year, the 2-year-old trophy, and I think it's an all right renewal of it. I mean, our favourite is Mayfair Lady. She was really impressive at the E-Ball meeting. She turned a competitive nursery and she made them look ordinary. It was such a good performance. I think the wheels were spinning on soft ground last time out behind Larry Ocker, who was a seriously impressive filly for Henry Candy, and she deserves to be favourite back on better ground. I don't like Logout Island. I know he ran well last time out in the Mill Reef behind Ribchester, but I'm just not fully convinced by that form personally. And Logout Island is one of these that he won't go on next year. In fact, I'm just not convinced by the horse. Mr. Lupton, surprised.
Fairness, he hasn't gone on this year.
I know, yeah. he won his first race, and we thought, wow, he could be. I remember people fancying for the Coventry, and it's just not gone the right way. Mr. Lupton surprised me last time out because I thought he wanted 5 furlongs, and lo and behold, he goes and wins over 6. And he's a horse that me and you have got a slight soft spot for as well, as we saw him at. Pardon?
Love them.
Oh, you love the horse. Good. It was the horse we saw at York in July, and then he came out in the super sprint and ran a really good race. I thought he was going to win that as well, and he just didn't quite get there. But I think he'll run a big race tomorrow, and I could see him bang there with Mayfair Lady. I will mention Orvar as well. Haley Turner's got the ride. He was a good winner last time out in Turkey. Didn't beat very much, but he quickened. Good turn of foot he showed in a bizarre race. If you get a chance to watch it, do. Because the horse that finished last was just... I've never seen a horse be so green. And so shockingly, he was making his debut as well in this type of race it was. Oh, it was bizarre. I'm going to go with Mr. Lupton as the selection. I know Mayfair Lady deserves to be favourite, but Mr. Lupton at 7s, I think he rates as a decent bet tomorrow.
Well, we've got 22 horses with Christchurch being a non-runner, and we're agreeing.
Oh well.
Albeit, I have to say, this has been a horse that we have followed through the majority of the season since that York nursery run earlier on in the year. But I have to agree with you. I was in the camp that Mr. Lupton firmly wanted 5 furlongs. The horse has got a lot of toe about him. I didn't think he wanted a yard over 5.5 furlongs. Lo and behold, he goes and wins over 6.5, which I have no idea how he did it, but it was a competitive race as well. He had to survive a steward's inquiry and then an appeal as well that then eventually got thrown out. But he's just the horse that's going in the right direction. I've mentioned last week on the video as well that Paddy Mathers is having a really good season so far. He's got the rides on Mr. Lupton once more. 7-1, I think, is a fair enough price about him. If you look at the horses ahead of him in the market, you've got Logout Island, who really just hasn't gone on this year at all. As Adam mentioned, set a really good benchmark on debut. Just hasn't been the same horse since. He is fairly highly strong, as we learned on his debut when he got loose in the parade ring, did a few laps of it, and then went out and still won fairly comfortably at Ascot. Of the rest, though, you're struggling, really. Mayfair Lady back on faster ground could be a decent form angle, but at 3-1 in this kind of race, it could be a little bit short for all that she does get weight from the majority of the field, and she's rated higher than the majority of the field as well. If there's one that I was putting forward as more of an each way alternative, well, there'd be a couple actually. Dark Defender ran fairly poorly last time out. Was up to 7 furlongs on that occasion. Was up to 5. Well, down to 5 last time. Was 7 furlongs before that. I think 6 furlongs is going to be his ideal trip for the time being. It was disappointing though at Hamilton last time out. That was in a very much a small field race. His best performances have seemingly come with more horses in. There's only 4 runners on that occasion. I think 40-1 could be a fair enough each way price about him. But more pressingly, Delizia is a horse that I've had on my mind for quite a while as well. She's high enough in the weights in this race, but she was a winner of the Merrygate earlier on in the year at York. She set a fairly good score on that. She wasn't beaten all that far by Acapulco either at Royal Ascot, for all that she was 10 lengths behind Acapulco. That's not the worst efforts in the world. And then she ran pretty well behind Tasleet the time after that, went 4th at York. So again, another horse that you shouldn't really give up on. I think around 20-1, I think Delizia could be a decent enough each way proposition. But I completely agree with you, Adam, regarding the win bet in the race anyway with Mr. Lupton for Richard Fahey, the informed Richard Fahey, we should say as well, after a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, Richard Fahey at the moment is just in sensational form. Air Gold Cup Day, Jesus. He beat George Bowen with his own horse, Tatlisa, who runs later. It's heartbreaking for me because the double on Mr. Lupton, on Don't Touch and George Bowen, peas and carrots went everywhere. Oh, it's not good. But it's good to see Richard Fahey in this form as well. And next year, I think next year he'll have a really good year. I mean, he's had a great year this year, but with the prize money he's winning, I saw someone suggest that he could even be challenging for the trainer title, and I thought, a load of nonsense that is. But with the amount of prize money he's winning, he's not going to win Group 1s week in, week out, but if he can get these handicappers, and that's fair prize money in itself. He broke the £2 million barrier and 200 winners barrier as well, so he's in flying form at the minute. Can't stop him. So, and he's got one later that I probably will go off the cliff again with Heaven's Guest. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, from that we'll move on very swiftly. I think that's the best way to go about that.
He's a good clip horse to have, though. At least he wins.
Yeah, the 310 at Ascot, though, is the John Guest Benbow Stakes, a Group 3 over 6 furlongs. It's the 9 go to post here, Adam. A fairly wide open race as well, and some decent form to bring into this race from across the season. We've got the Woking winner with Interception, the likes of Zanetto as well. At his best, isn't the worst horse in the world. Polybius comes off the back of a really impressive win at Newmarket last time out. So a fair few good form angles to be bringing into this. Also, have to mention Nadir, just in case Josh Pearson is watching this.
Yeah, Nadir is his biggest fan. I think that's him in his profile picture on Twitter as well.
That is. It is.
I actually quite like Nadir actually tomorrow. I think he can reverse form with Polybius because when he won in March, I thought the sky was the limit in a way. He was really impressive at Doncaster, but it didn't go right for him after that. He's been gelded in the interim, and he ran really well over 6 furlongs behind Polybius, and the step up to 7 furlongs, my headphones go flying. The 4th behind Lamato reads quite well. I think the drop back to 6 will help him here tomorrow and on decent ground as well. I think he's the one to beat. Interception's a danger. It's just that, was she trained? I think she was trained to peak in the Wokingham, and since then it's sort of, she's a bit off, if you know what I mean, because she was well backed. It was a proper old-fashioned gamble they had in the Wokingham, because she was not mentioned, and then the minutes leading up to the race, it was sort of 20 to 1, and she went into 10 to 1. It was sensational how it happened so quickly as well. If she's ready, I mean, she's caught some distance winner, obviously, having won the Wokingham. I think she could go well tomorrow, and George Baker sounded reasonably confident earlier in at the races, so Nadir is the one for me. I'm not really a fan of Polybius, being honest, because he was mentioned at the start of the season as a sprinter who could go and progress. But I'm just not convinced by him personally. I know he won last time out, but he's just not one that I'm wanting to keep on side. He reminds me a little bit of Danzino, the horses I just can't keep on side of. Eastern Impact is another that I think should run well. Obviously, we mentioned Richard Fahy earlier, but he's another one that I'm just about, because I thought when he won his handicap, I thought, what's he going to do now? And he's been third in the Group 1, and it sounds like I'm crabbing a horse, but it's just there's just some horses that I don't know, they're just bizarre in a way. You know what I mean? Nadir is the one to beat for me.
Yeah, I can confirm that a certain Josh Pearson from Twitter is watching, and he said, "Don't like you say a single bad thing about Nadir."
I didn't.
I wasn't going to. The guy in that Twitter picture, though, really does let him down for looks-wise. Weird bloke.
You're insulting people again. Last week you were insulting people, and you're doing it again. How dare you?
That's a compliment, if anything. Don't know how. Don't ask me how. But moving on. I'm fascinated to see Cable Bay, who's been a horse that I've been a fan of for quite a while, back down to 6 furlongs. Hasn't happened for quite a while, actually. He hasn't been running over 6 furlongs since his 2-year-old days. When behind the ill-fated Astaire. Since then, he's tried 7 furlongs more up than a mile, but last time out, back over 7 furlongs, was 6 behind Nadir. You have to keep that in to account. Nadir probably will appreciate a drop down to 6 furlongs more, but the thing to take into account with Cable Bay is that he's a very strong travelling horse. If he can utilise that over 6 furlongs and use his natural speed over a shorter distance, then 6 to 1 could be a decent enough price. He's got Jamie Spencer on board, who I don't think we need to remind everyone. We say every week on the other hoof, he's having such a good season. He's riding so well at the moment, and any horse that he rides is really gaining an asset by having him on board. Of the rest, you have to give a chance to Nadir. If you're giving Cable Bay any sort of chance, then Nadir, a slightly shorter price, 9 to 2, would have to be thrown into the mix for Marco Botti and Martin Harley. They spoke to Martin Harley as well on RUK a bit earlier on, and like George Baker on ATR earlier, he sounded very confident about Nadir dropping back down to 6 furlongs. He just didn't quite see out 7 last time, for all that he did run a very good race at the same time behind Limato, who was a runaway winner. I just have a bit of a worry that at this level, Nadir is not getting his head in front at the moment. He has calmed down quite a bit throughout the course of the season. That's courtesy of him being gelded towards the earlier parts of the season, because he was a bit hit and miss. Apologies. We've got another tweet in from Josh Pearson saying, okay, when I said don't say a bad thing about Nadir, it wasn't a free pass to air your gripes with me.
What did I tell you last week about offending people on air? You just smile at the camera and say nothing. Sorry, Josh. I'm disappointed in him. He didn't listen to me. I wouldn't insult you, Josh.
Not to your face, anyway. Off air, he's a nightmare.
To yourself.
Apologies, Josh. Not really. What was I talking about? Nadir, that was it, wasn't it? Nadir. Oh, God, I've completely lost track now. Nadir back down to 6 furlongs would have a better chance than over 7 last time out. As Martin Harley said, probably Nadir's best trip, undoubtedly his best trip. I'd just be siding with Cable Bay at a slightly bigger price, but to be honest, I wouldn't put you off either of them. I think both of them could be filling out a place in the first 3 tomorrow afternoon. 2 more races to cover then. For the Channel 4 action tomorrow here on the Other Hoof. Do get your questions into our Twitter account, as Josh just did. At On the Other Hoof is our Twitter tag. You can get any opinion, fancy question you've got in about the weekend of racing coming up, anything as well. We will answer the questions that you may have about the Arc Abbey Foray, anything that's being run on Sunday at Longchamp. We're just going to be doing a different preview tomorrow evening for Arc Day. So any questions, fancies, or anything else within reason that you do want to send in, we will answer them very shortly indeed. The next race to cover, though, is the 3:30 from Newmarket, the Kingdom of Bahrain Sun Chariot Stakes at Fillies Group 1 over a mile, won last year by Integral. And really, Adam, it just seems that Integral and Esoterique seem to be having all these matchups against each other. I think Esoterique may have drawn level or just gone past Integral now, but it's fairly closely matched between the two.
I do think that Esoterique has had a really good season this year. I mean, when she came to Royal Ascot, people sort of raised their eyebrows when she ran really well, but you look back through her form, she's a really good mare, and she beat Territories last time out on really soft ground. Territories just couldn't quicken on the ground, but it was still a really game performance, and she was pulled out of the Moulin, surprisingly, even though it was soft ground, but so they must have decided that they were going to save her for this race. And it is a matchup between them. You're taking it on trust that Integral's got over what she had at Royal Ascot, because she didn't run a race. They'd harped on about the fact she wanted fast ground. Everything was in her favour at Royal Ascot, and she just didn't run well at all. She was pulled out of the Falmouth because the ground was too quick for her, which I was shocked at. Michael Stout had been harping on that she wants fast ground, and when it was fast ground, he pulled her out. So I think this is, as you said last week, I think this is her last run before she heads for the paddock. So I'm hoping that she's come to herself. And
I thought that as well.
Yeah.
She's also got an entry in the QE2, though. I have heard that this was her last run, but she has got an entry in the QE2 if they did want to go there.
If the ground turned up decent, I don't think she'd beat Solo, but I think she'd give him a race at least. At the prices, though, I think if they're evenly matched and you can trust that Integral's back, I think 7-2 is worth a bet tomorrow. But Wiener is a really good filly as well, and she shouldn't be underestimated. Some of her races haven't exactly gone to plan for her. I mean, Amazing Maria, James Doyle just rode him to sleep in the Falmouth. Brilliant ride that was. And she deserves a place there. I think 13-2 is slightly too big for her. The 3-year-olds, I do think, face an upward task. Rialtra has really improved on her last 2 starts. She barged Fada Hill out the way. I know she was a comfortable winner, but it's still a bit of reckless riding. On Fada Hill, I don't think she'll get the mile. She didn't get the mile for me in the Guineas. I think 7 furlongs is her trip. As nice a filly as she is, I don't think she'll stay. Irish Rookie, we haven't seen since Royal Ascot either. She could be a big price, but I think it's between the older fillies here. And Malabar's one that we both like. She ran a shocker in America last time out. And that is for 3 weeks. I know she's come back from America to England. I do think it's a bit of a quick turnaround for her. I hope Integral wins.
Sorry to interrupt again. About Malabar.
Yeah.
I know I'm a broken record when it comes to rides out in America, but I thought Rafael Bejarano was absolutely awful.
Yeah, he
Malabar.
Yeah.
He just didn't keep the position at all. He had a good position on the rail, then he decides to take her out to be last. That's not how you ride Malabar.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. When you book American jockeys, that's the fate you'll get. If you take over your own riders, you will not have them problems.
Or you can just ignore the Irish ones that are out there. I don't know, Wayne Lorden.
Yeah, no comment. I've heard Luke moan about it enough. I don't want to hear it again.
We've got the Breeders' Cup coming up fairly shortly, so we'll get that out again.
That's going to be fun. Two videos of you moaning about American jockeys. That's going to be great.
Although, I have to say, I am glad that Malabar has got over her illness of American jockeyitis.
Yeah.
It's a serious condition, and it needs to be taken a lot more serious in the racing game, okay?
Yeah, no
Resilient jockeyitis today. That is brilliant. Sylvester de Souza's having a great season, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going out to America actually at the end of the season. He's going to ride out there for a couple of months. It keeps him going through the winter. I don't blame him, and he could have some real good success out there. So, yeah, Integral's the one for me in the Sun Chariot anyway.
I've got an interesting part to say about this. Head says Esoteric, Heart says Integral, Price says Bowina.
Right, that's an interesting way. You're right.
Interesting way to go about it, isn't it? I thought Bowina was very unlucky in the Falmouth earlier on this season on the July course, obviously, but Bowina and Maxime Guillaume were on the red, sitting about 5th or 6th place, and then Maxime Guillaume quickly realised he wasn't going to get a gap, so had to switch over to the far part of the track. Wasn't beaten all that far behind Amazing Maria, Euro Charlene, and Avenir Sertan, only beaten just over a length by the 3. If he didn't have to make that move, he'd have been fairly close to them, and he was also staying on Maxime Guillaume was also staying on quite nicely towards the far side of the course, which after making that move, she was always facing an uphill battle. Her form after that hasn't really gone on and been as good as you'd hope. She was beaten once again by Amazing Maria at Deauville, and last time out behind Odalisque. Now Odalisque has, well, with the application of headgear anyway, has seemingly taken a big step forward. I still feel though that if Bowina can return to the form that she was in around the Falmouth time, she could be a storming each way bet around 7-1-ish. One of the bigger prices about Bowina. Esoteric is a horse I've got completely wrong over the last couple of seasons. I didn't think she was all that good. Last year, you remember, I think all of us actually were raging about Integral and how she was a ridiculous price in this race.
I wasn't. I went for the Godolphin favourite that finished 3rd.
You went for Fintry, didn't you?
I did go for Fintry. I did like Fintry in this race last year. You all complained at me about, she's not got the form, but it was more a visual thing. And sometimes you trust your eyes over the form book, and that one didn't exactly work out. Most of it doesn't for me, but yeah. Then again, it always seems on the other hoof. If 3 of you are bullish, but we'll bring Michael into this as well. If you 3 are bullish on one and I'm not, turns out that you 3 are normally right and I'm wrong. So it's Slade as well as another example.
Listen to the masses, Adam. Listen to the masses.
Yes, I will do in the future.
All my advice is. Esoteric has seemingly improved this season. Wasn't beaten all that far behind Solo at Royal Ascot. Seemingly from that as well has taken steps forward when once again not being beaten too far in the Prix Maurice. De Geese behind Muhara last time out as well in the Marwa was a pretty impressive winner as well, beating a pretty decent field, it has to be said, with the likes of Lightning Spear in behind them as well, which we still hope will make into a Group 1 performer. But Esoteric is seemingly a horse going in the right direction. 11-8 is a little bit short for me regarding tomorrow. Heart says Integral. I absolutely adore Integral. She's one of my favourite horses over the last few years. I think as a selection, though, based on the prices and form, I think Bowina would have a pretty decent chance around 6-7-1. So Bowina would be the selection. I would love it, though, if Integral did manage to get a head back in front off the back of that absence. And I hope that everything is okay with her after a poor run at Royal Ascot. So now the final race that we're going to be covering is the 3:45 from Ascot, the Tope Scoop 6 Challenge Cup, a handicap over 7 furlongs. 18 going to post here, Adam. Plenty of claimers on show as well is one of the things to note, including aboard Heaven's Guest, one of your clip horses, where you've got Sammy Jo Bell.
No complaints about her being booked on Heaven's Guest. She rode him in the Air Gold Cup last year where I thought he'd be outpaced, and she pinged him out in front, and he ran a really good race. And she's been right now at the skin this year. I will start and mention Buckstay. We had a tweet after the Air Gold Cup from Jeff Hanley, who said, watch out for this horse next time. And he tweeted the account the other day saying that the horse had been well back for this race. Jamie Spencer's booked. If you'd have said this time 12 months ago that Jamie Spencer was going to be riding out your skin, first of all, he was technically retired. And secondly, you'd have still raised your eyebrows at it. But in fairness to him, Jamie Spencer has just been unbelievable these last 2 months. So I think Buckstay has his chance. He was caught the eye because he was staying on, obviously, in the Air Gold Cup. 6 was too sharp for him. 7 furlong triple would be no problem. And he has his chance. Mr. Wynn, although he's a Newmarket specialist, I will try not to label him that. his relation George Bowen is an exceptional horse, and Kevin Blake, who at the races and Final Furlong podcast, Kevin Blake bred both of them. So it's a great story for him to have two horses rated in the low 100s. So, and I think even with a £6 penalty, he's got the ability to go close. Make It Up didn't win the strongest of races last time out and got walloped up £7 in the handicap, but a mark of 111 is pretty steep. Edward Greatrex does negate 5 of both pounds, but I still think he's got a tough task at the weights. I think Gabriel Zag will run well because he wants to qualify for the Balmoral handicap. I think this is one of the last chances you get to qualify, so I expect a big run from him, and he should come on for his first few starts. Heaven's Guest will be one of the selections, even on slightly quicker ground than he faced at Ascot when he won. Good ground isn't a concern for me. It's not too quick, and I think he'll go well tomorrow at a track that he does perform well at. I'm going to also talk about a horse that I mentioned in the flat preview for my bet of the season, and it lasted about 10 hours because he was pulled out of the Lincoln because he had something wrong with him, which was Empire Storm. I think he's a bit of an insulting price. He may be... You mentioned to me off air that he may be being prepped for Maidan, but I've got the feeling that he's been prepped more for the end of season handicaps that he ran well in last year, like this race in the Balmoral. He traced home Intransigent, who's also a big price here, I must say. If he's going to run well tomorrow, Mikey Ennis claims 5 again. Mikey Ennis is more than useful. I think he can go well at 33-1. He shouldn't be that price. One other I'll give a mention to, Winfast at 28. So I know he's carrying top weight, but he's got good ground again. And I thought that handicap win on his comeback run at Newbury was seriously impressive. And I don't think he's too harshly treated considering the way the race is. A likely winner, it's a tricky one. I will side with Heaven's Guest, but at an each way price, I will put up Empire Storm. And I don't think it sounds like I'm picking off the field here, but I don't think Winfast should be underestimated at 28. I think that's a bit of an insulting price on him as well.
Interesting. Fair enough. Just noticed that Andrew Bordney's got a couple in with Eddie Greatrex choosing Make It Up, but the price discrepancy between Make It Up and Intransigent, you imagine he'd have had the choice of the two. Would be a fairly clear choice on that. I'm going to put 2 up each way as well. I put Empire Storm up 12 months ago for this race each way about 50-1. He ran a blinder to come second, just following. What do you say?
We laughed at you probably.
Yeah, you did, I think. You did. It was off a similar mark as well. He was only off a mark of 104 that day. He's off 107. Mikey Ennis took 7 off that day, takes 5 off tomorrow. So again, it's not that much of a higher mark. It's not too tough a task as well. This looks a more than winnable race also. But at 33-1, I'd be more than tempted to go in each way aboard Empire Storm. And also the other each way selection will be Rennie Mathis, who's been in fantastic form this season. Richard Fahey, we've already mentioned how good a form he's been in. George Challoner gets on pretty well with Rennie Mathis winning at Goodwood 2 outings ago. Didn't run that bad a race back over 6 furlongs in the Air Gold Cup just a couple of weeks ago. Was only beaten 2 lengths by Don't Touch on that occasion. So Rennie Mathis continues that good enough form. If he can just returning back to 7 furlongs will help him. But if he can just return to the kind of form he was in at Goodwood, he shouldn't be too far away. Excuse me, I malfunctioned there. But your 2 each way selections would be Empire Storm and Rennie Mathis. But the one worry with that is that we're down to 17 runners here because Burnt Sugar is a non-runner, which leaves us with the horrible.
Happened last year in this race, I think. I remember there was 18 and then I think 15 went to post. So you're on the cusp there. Hopefully there's 16 runners and you get 4 places. Because there's plenty in the race you can consider. It's a good handicap for an end of season one anyway.
Agree with that. It's hopefully we do get 16 runners. I will hope that, but hopefully we don't get a repeat of last year. That's all the races we're going to be covering this evening on the Other Hoof. We will be back tomorrow evening at 4-hour ARC preview. If you want to send in any questions or fancies or anything else, as always within reason, then you can tweet us at On The Other Hoof. We're going to read out all your questions and fancies right about now. There is still time to get your questions, opinions, and whatever else you want to send in as well. Callum Adele does apologise for not being on this evening. He says, unfortunately, I won't be there, but I wish you all the best Allez Trev. And then he sent a picture of the Arc de Triomphe over in Paris. The first question that we've got in, though, is from Adam, from Rebecca Adams, saying, I have a question. Where would Adam Webb 121's preferences lie, with Magician or the Fugue?
Can we not talk about that? That's just cruelty. I mean...
Cruelty to Adam.
Cruelty to me. You encourage it. So, if I had to be honest, I'd say the Fugue, but both of them broke my heart. Magician broke my heart at the Breeders' Cup. In fact, Magician broke my heart twice. Because
You said that so resentfully.
Yeah. Because
both of them broke my heart.
Well, the Fugue was meant to be the bridal job with good things in the Breeders' Cup turf, and she got mugged on the line by Magician. You can imagine how I felt afterwards. And then both of them went and beat Trev in the Prince of Wales. So I prefer the Fugue though. Ugh. So both of them. Oh. I got the Fugue wrong so many times. The time I did get it right was in the Irish Champion, and then the Magician. I'm calm. Just both of them horses, man. Oh.
Jeff Handley's tweeted in, as always. Good evening to you, Jeff. Promanco makes their handicap debut at Fontwell tomorrow. She's being aimed at the EBF final at Newbury later on this season.
Long-term plot. Wow.
The Yard won the EBF last season with the impressive Callan.
They did.
Charlie Longstons, obviously. I'm not sure if Jeff has got an interest in Promanco, or if he's just a fan of the horse. Either way, best of luck with Promanco tomorrow at Fontwell. Colin Robinson. I don't recognise that name, Colin. If you're a new viewer to the show, welcome, and thank you for sending your question in. Colin Robinson has a 10p each way round robin on Ocean 11, Holly Shiftwell, and Lazy Days in Lule, I should say. Ever been to Lule, Adam?
No.
You know where Lule is?
No.
Yeah.
Where is it?
The Algarve. It's in Portugal.
Oh no, never been to Portugal. No.
Good place. You should go. Best of luck with that, though, Colin. Wish you luck with those selections. Kai Wills, you're late, buddy. You weren't first. Disappointing, Kai. Expect better next week, or maybe in tomorrow evening as well. Actually.
Yeah, tomorrow evening.
Tuning in. He says, "Evening, gents. Integral in the Sun Chariot. Would you forgive that shocking run in Ascot and back her? I could forgive Integral many things. I think she's been a wonderful, wonderful horse over the years. I absolutely adore Integral. If you can't tell." Tomorrow, I hope she wins. I won't be backing her, though. I know Adam does fancy her, though.
Yeah, I did weigh it up, and Michael Stout has come back to form. There was a stage in the season at Royal Ascot. Most of his horses, some of them just didn't run their races. He had some misfortune at Royal Ascot as well, but there was a stage after that where his horses were in and out. And I'll be interested to see him next season. I think his horses will be really firing next year. He's just had this blank year, a bit like John Joe O'Neill on the over National Hunt, and I think he'll have a really strong season when we talk about the jumpers, which will come up in a few weeks. I did research for Manco. He doesn't have a share, but his owner, Sylvia Tainton, I thought I recognised the name. She owned one of my old favourite chasers who should have won the Grand National, a horse called Bo, who unseated Carl Allen when he should have won. Yeah, and Carl chasing him down to the 21st. He jumps it, the policeman didn't stop, and the frustration is just amazing to watch.
Good story about Carl, actually. Sorry. When I was in school, I remembered that, obviously, I knew there was a horse around called Bo. I was in about year 4, I think it was, and my teacher came up to us, I think in English or spelling or whatever class it was you do at that age, and she was coming around the class and she was asking people how to spell, or asking kids how to spell words, and she said beautiful, which apparently every year 4 kid got wrong. I absolutely nailed it, and she goes, "Oh, what's your way of remembering how to spell beautiful? Because I might be able to teach that to everyone else." Go, "Oh, it's a racehorse called Bo. That's the first part of the word, and let's put tiffle on the end."
I think I had a similar way. I think I'm trying to remember the way I learned how to spell beautiful. I remember learning how to spell that word because it was a difficult word to spell.
Well, everyone always says the Bruce Almighty way. They say B-E-A beautiful, which, in fairness, is kind of how I learned. I went Bo and then put tiffle on the end.
I think that's how my grandma taught me. She put Bo and then tiffle, because Bo was obviously around in the late 90s, early 2000s. Good horse. Really good horse as well.
These school kids going racing, they are learning stuff. Horse racing is a big industry. We teach spelling and stuff.
Pronunciation, on the other hand, maybe not, but spelling, yes.
pronunciation does vary depending on which raters of value that you go and watch. Kai Wills is our next team on Twitter as well. A couple more from Kai. He says, "Do you like Schubert? And is he a good thing in the 405 at Newmarket tomorrow?" You'd hope so. 8-13 though, Kai. I don't think you're getting too much value about Schubert. And he also says, again, Kai's most important question of the week. He has tweeted us about food quite a bit recently. He said, "Are you a fan of a fry up on a Saturday, black pudding, hash browns, etc.?" Oh yeah,
like a fry up, yeah. Schubert, I like his music. It's all right, but the horse, yeah, he's got a chance.
Are you a fan of black pudding?
No, I'm not. It's not my cup of tea. I've tried it. It's just something I'm not particularly keen on. Can understand why people like it though. I know you are a big fan of black pudding. I know that.
Oh, love it, unbelievable stuff, fantastic. I know. Well, people don't like it because it's made of not great stuff.
It's not what it's made of. It just doesn't like the taste of it. So yeah.
I'm with Kai. Black pudding all the way. Chris Heath has tweeted in. They're saying, "Racing over at Longchamp on Sunday, or is that being saved for a one-off special Auto tomorrow?"
Of course.
It is being saved for a one-off special Auto tomorrow. We'll probably be back 8-1. And then he also tweeted in before tuning in, I imagine, saying, "P.S. Is Luke going to be wearing one of his designer working shirts tonight?" Smiley face. Afraid not. This is actually from Portugal as well, this shirt. It costs about €3, I think. So.
Have you still got your Monaco football shirt?
Yeah. Never thrown that away.
Oh, you need to wear it at some point.
Went to Barcelona and bought a Monaco shirt. That's how I roll. Derek Gamblepunt, who I still hope that is your real name. That's a fantastic name. It said, "This is how you cook a Reapers on Friday nights," and then he's put a picture up as well, which we will retweet on the other account. Done.
I saw it earlier. Yeah.
He's got the picture of Adam up on the laptop. He's got his Reapers in the pan. I did have to research what Reapers were. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. But they are, or a Reaper is a flatbread made of ground maize dough or cooked in flour, prominent in the cuisine of Colombia.
Ooh, sounds exotic.
And for a guy like Derek Gamblepunt, who lives in London and Gibraltar, I understand why you're completely into Colombian foods, my friend. Chris Heath has then come back in and said, "Tip for tomorrow, Farlow in the 345 at Ascot." That is the Challenge Cup that could potentially go down to under 16 runners. Sunday, he's gone for Found at 20-1 in the Arc. Is Found at 20s now?
Yeah, she's drawn 15.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't really care much about the draw. But yeah, she's 20-1. Drawn 15. Same draw that Trev came out of 2 years ago.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Chris. Found at 20s is a fantastic bet. And Covert Love in the Opera at 5-1. One worry about Covert Love is that...
Me?
No, not Trip. Trip should be fine. Is the yard form. They haven't had a winner in a long time. They've had a fair few seconds.
It wouldn't be worried about the yard form. They're running well. It's just that they're finding it hard to get a winner. Gifted Master will do it tomorrow. Don't worry.
Steve Mully. Have you seen Steve's tweet?
Yes.
Value indeed. And one last tweet. Rebecca Adams saying, "When I was in school," from what I said a second ago, saying, "What, you mean last year?"
Yeah.
All right, Coogs. We'll calm down there.
You missed the question from Private Sean.
How
much of a good thing is Fractional tomorrow? Well, he's back on decent ground, which he's missed all year. I think he has a chance in the pre-dollar. It's a tricky race. If Cyrus Sagler has recovered from Irish Champions Day, 7-2 looks a gift of a price. He's the best horse in the race by a mile.
Can we get you to do a treat for myself, Callum, and every other viewer of On the Other Hoof?
A treat? What do you mean?
Can you say the pre-dollar in like a really gangster thug tone?
Maybe tomorrow.
Come on.
I need to practice. You need to practice things.
There we go. That's something to do. That's something to tune in for tomorrow. Adam will be saying pre-dollar in a thug tone. So do tune in tomorrow.
There's nothing thug about me. Oh, dearie me.
I have a Snapchat screenshot that says otherwise.
I only do it jokingly. You really think I'd be like that? Oh,
yeah, pretty much.
Can I talk about one race tomorrow before we go off air? Because I did a bit of work surrounding it. It's the pre-show dinner at Longchamp tomorrow. It's let me just describe it. Plenty of slow horses. It's over 1 mile and 7, so you wouldn't be surprised. Gaius Caesar has been ridden by William Buick. His attitude is fantastic, but he is extremely slow. If he goes off in front, he will battle them off, but I think he's really slow. The one to beat is Vizirabad. He has had temperament issues, but in that field, I think he could be too good. And if he's still the outsider of the field, I think Tiberian is overlooked because he's only won a maiden and then he won a conditions for. He's 25. I think that's a fair price because he won his maiden on good ground and he showed a really nice turn of foot over this distance. He then dropped in trip on very soft ground and he did well to win on that occasion. He just didn't have that turn of foot in soft ground. Tomorrow's ground should be fine for him, and I think at 25, just because he's not as exposed as others in the race, I think he's worth a second look. The Twizzler also runs for Jane Chapel-Hyam, and I'm pleased to see him running in a race like this. It's not the best Group 2 in the world, but he deserves a go in a race like this because he's been progressing up through the handicap ranks. That's something I've enjoyed this year. Maybe the flat season hasn't been the best for some, but something I've enjoyed watching are these 3-year-olds staying handicaps. You've got horses like the Cashel Man, Amour de Nuit, and the Twizzler. They're 3 that I've kept a close eye on, and they've done really well this year for their connections. Is there anything else at Longshot? I just quickly.
I just wanted to mention, sorry, about Vizirabad in the Chardonnay. I was really impressed with Vizirabad last time out.
Yeah.
I watched the Group 3 win over course and distance as well last time. I just think it's a horse going in very much the right direction and could be a great deal better than what he's going to face tomorrow.
Yeah. Candelier should win the Rallier, but the price tells you that anyway. Scalambra won in Spain a couple of starts ago and ran against Actung, who runs in the Cadran tomorrow. I'll be talking a little bit about him tomorrow. I hope Cirrus wins the dollar. And the Daniel Wildenstein, I think Impassable. She's been really impressive so far. I think she's got the ability to win. Miss France, she needed her comeback run, but I think she needs to improve further. And I think Impassable could be a very smart filly. I think she's the one to beat in that.
Go on, say dollar in a thug voice.
Can I practice and do it tomorrow night?
I'm looking forward to this. Right, nap time. Adam, you go first.
Just mentioned my nap, actually. Impassable in the Daniel Wildenstein. Yeah.
So that's just get a race time as well. It is the 4:15. 4:15.
For KJ, who's watching in Paris, it's 5:15 for you.
4:15. 4:15 at Longshot, then Impassable for Adam. I'm not gonna lie, I did struggle for a nap tomorrow. I've got plenty that I fancy at bigger prices for each way purposes. But I think the 16-1 that's on offer for Rio Ronaldo in the last at Ascot is far too big. He's finally a horse that's beginning to get his act together. He was an impressive winner at Windsor 2 outings ago. Last time, the ground was just simply too soft. I thought he'd be a horse that does go on soft ground, but he travelled very strongly once more, as he always does, and just didn't quite pick up on it behind Redcar, who is a horse that is going on to much bigger and better things. Some of the horses just in behind as well. He will have to overturn. The form with ever so slightly, the likes of Perfect Muse and Oh So Sassy, but as I say, Rio Ronaldo is a horse that he could well be miles ahead of his mark of 85 and be a much better horse indeed. 16-1, I think, is a more than fair price about him, and each way could be a decent bet indeed. So Miss France. Sorry, I just looked down. I saw Miss France. Rio Ronaldo is my nap tomorrow, and Impassable in the pre-Daniel Wildenstein, the 4:15 at Longchamp. Impassable is Adam's nap. That's it for this evening. Thanks for joining us again once more, Adam.
One more note, Shanahan's turn wins tomorrow at Gar and he beats Clarkham. I think Clarkham will need the run. Shanahan's turn has got the benefit of the Galway play, and I think he'll win.
Jumps racing is back.
Yep. Callum's not going to like that. Well, we can't really say that. Oh dear, we're a dangerous society. Oh dear.
Callum's in France. Doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, good point. When are we going to do the jumps preview? That's a good
Soon.
question.
We will keep everyone posted on Twitter about our jumps preview that is coming up. We are working on a few things just to enhance the show for you guys, because we're just great guys. That's what we are here at On the Other Hoof. But we are working on a few little things just to add into it. But it will be within likely the next 2 weeks, or definitely the next 2 weeks, we'll say. But we will keep you updated on Twitter. On the Other Hoof, or at On the Other Hoof, you can follow us and keep up to date with everything regarding us and what we're doing shows wise. You can also subscribe to us by clicking the button below here on YouTube and then you'll be told about every video we do as and when we do it. It's usually every Friday evening, which brings us on to our next topic. We'll be back tomorrow evening to cover Arc Day at Longchamp, the Abbey, also taking place the Foray, where G-Force is stepping up to 7 furlongs for the first time. Looks to be a decent enough race as well, but the feature is Arc, or is the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, I should say. Anyway, tomorrow afternoon at 2, or Sunday afternoon.
2:55.
Sunday afternoon. I'm losing myself here. I'm losing myself. The 2:55 is the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. Can Trev get her third arc? Tune in tomorrow and we'll tell you maybe if she can. But until then, good night.